Hello, and thank you so much for joining me again today for another motivational live stream. Join me every Friday here at 10:30 Eastern Time AM, where I will bring some encouragement. So today's encouragement is coming from First Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. I'm reading the New Living Translation, and it reads, "Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character." And this word is already blessed by God. So, as you can see by the title and by the thumbnail today, it asks, "Are you under the influence?" And being under the influence is a common thing, but it doesn't really mean exactly what you think. In this case, it happens when God delivers us from bad situations. Most of the time, we have to figure out how to start over, how to learn how to live again, how to do things again. And why is it so uncomfortable? It's because we've gotten used to it. We've gotten used to the bad habits. The bad habits have become daily activities for us. And it could be anything. It could be from not praying to it could be some type of actual influential thing, or it could be some type of idol, being under the influence of ourselves or someone else, looking at them as an idol. So in that case, right now, we've been delivered. At this point, we know God in such a way that we have a relationship with Him and we seek Him and we know that we become a vessel for Him. So we have to remove the influence. And most of the time, for me, isolation happens. And isolation happens because if He doesn't separate us from how we are, how we used to be, how whatever it used to be triggered us and influenced us, then how can He prepare us to do His will, whatever that might be? We don't know what our life has ahead of us, but we do know that God is strategic. He has everything planned out for us. So, we have to know that if we're under the influence of God, that everything is going to work out for our good. So, if you think about Moses, if you read the book in the book of Exodus, um, Moses was being prepared by God to do his will, to do God's will. And for the first few years, Moses was under the influence of Pharaoh. He didn't know who he was personally. All he knew was Pharaoh was a leader and he had to do what the leader says, or him and his people wouldn't make it, him and his family. So when God removed that influence of Pharaoh, Moses was able to see clear. He was able to see what he could do next. So, um, and it's funny that he was actually in the wilderness when this happened. So I encourage you to read the book of Exodus to know more about that story. But uh, the influence was removed, and it caused Moses to be out in the wilderness. But Moses never questioned God. He never questioned the bad habit that was removed. He knew that it was time to start over. So I encourage you the same way. It's time for us to start over, to start our life. It's time for us to unlearn the bad habits and learn how to live again the right way. God separates us, and we might lose everything we have. We might lose everybody that we once knew, everything that we once knew that we were once used to. But if we break that routine that has become a daily activity, then it leads us to change for real and not just pretend to change and not just try, but to actually be walking in it, to be doing it. Again, if we go back and talk about the isolation is going to help us figure out what we're doing. What are we doing to ourselves to keep us in these bad areas in our lives, to keep us from not going towards God? So when we when we get rid of the bad influence, whatever it is, and we aligned ourselves with God, we learn how to live again, then we can realize what it's like to live again even after those things were lost. Those could be material things, those could be people, those could be uh, anything that was a bad influence. We don't have to turn back anymore. We don't have to do what we used to do anymore. With God giving us a new life, all of that old stuff is gone away and we have strength through him. He's taken over our lives, and you know we lose people, and we lose in interest in people and things like that because we're no longer relatable. So whether the next person notices it or we notice it for ourselves because we have self-awareness, you know, either way, it's something that's good. We don't have to be under the influence. It's time to walk away. It's time for us to walk away if that situation hasn't already been removed already. I encourage you to keep certain situations that might be hindering you from developing spiritually away from you. Anything that's hindering your relationship with God. Because it could be anything. If you're not doing something that's appealing to the world, then you're doing something wrong, right? And you're going to stand out. You're going to stand out from the crowd. Um, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you've been delivered and you're actually trying to do the right thing. The world that we live in is a definition of success that is not the right definition. It's a false definition of success. Success is not the money and the cars and the clothes and whatever those material things that we're seeing. Success is living by the fruits of the spirit and striving every day to have a relationship with Christ so that our life is good, so that our life is peaceful and content. So I encourage you, let go of the world, believe in God and believe in his power and continue to seek his face all day long. Anything that you might be going through is just something. That influence that you're under is just something. You could pray that thing away. You got to pray. You got to push, right? Pray until something happens. The enemy will flee. The enemy cannot live by you because you strive to live the right way. You strive to get rid of the influence. So if we separate ourselves from those bad behaviors, those influences, then we're going to develop into the best person that we can be. And it is overwhelming, it's uncomfortable, and we're not going to remember what we even did to get rid of the influence, but we're going to know that God was at the head of it, leading our path, and it worked. So don't let the enemy let you think that what you see in this world is what you have to do or what you have to be a part of. You have to you got to rise above that. You got to rise above that with your spiritual boldness, because spiritual boldness is something that is just developed because we know that Christ is leading our path and that we're not under the influence of anything that is hindering our growth. We know that he is everything has happened strategically and we're happy, we're content. So that's that holy boldness that I'm talking about. So I love you and I hope that you be encouraged by this video. Please don't forget to leave me a comment afterwards and I will see you on the next one. Stay blessed. Bye bye.